Happy St. Patrick's Day, Ember Esports, and welcome it into the first week of Ember Scorch League playoffs here in the upper quarterfinals, bringing you this matchup between Stun Gaming and Spaghetti Spire, our 4th and 5th seeds, respectively. I'm Isaac. Joining me alongside me tonight for this matchup will be Relucent for this series. Relucent, welcome in. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you. I'm doing well, and not only is it St. Patrick's Day, it's somebody's birthday. So,
Oh, well.
everybody wish Isaac a happy birthday today. Double holiday. So that's kind of
Yeah.
awesome. We're seeing the 4th and 5th seed here today, and I'm curious to see how this match pans out simply because, being in the kind of middle to lower bottom of the pack, you kind of have a lot to fight for here. But it could prove to be an impressive bracket run if they're able to pull it off.
I also think, especially with this series specifically, it is a kind of a fun one to look at, not only because these two teams are relatively close in the standings, the closest ones we'll have so far, but also two teams are kind of opposites in terms of where their focus is, of where like their power points are when they do find success. For example, Moonshot so far, 3rd in kills in the league, up at the top lane for Spaghetti Spire. Meanwhile, on the side of Stunned Gaming Eclipse, their bot lane definitely has a lot of prowess, specifically Ghoul Freak so far, 7th in CS per minute and 6th in kills per game. So we could see a lot of opposite like side map focus between these two teams and see which of these opposite sides of the map can like push their team to victory into this one. Also going, because we all have a single group in the Ember Scorch League. These two teams have played against each other before in the regular season. Just a few weeks ago, Spaghetti Spire did actually win this matchup, despite the fact that they are the lower seed coming into the playoffs.
Okay. So on paper, Spaghetti Spire definitely has a match on them, has proven to be able to beat Stunned Gaming before. But at the same time, Stunned Gaming, I've seen some plays from, different levels of the different tiers of their teams, and I have to say, each team loves to play that Stunned Gaming cheesy matchups. So I think that, it's kind of, skill versus, CC crowd control cheese gaming that I've seen. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. So I'm curious to see. I mean, they've played each other before, so they kind of know what to ban out, what their strong suits are. And they also kind of know their macro plays at this point, right?
Yeah, I will say though, Crown Control's actually 2nd seed in the league, but we're going to throw that the other way. Either way, moving on, we move straight through the bans of Phelios, Syndra, Aurelia, Caitlyn, Nico, and Jinx, all taken off the table here for the first round of picks, and Stun Gaming Eclipse take no hesitation in their first round, picking up Maokai very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this Maokai pick before. Maokai Jungle, not the most popular pick nowadays in this season, but it's not bad either. So I'm curious to see, if this will be a jungle or if it will be a support. I honestly personally like the Maokai support a little bit more. It offers a lot of value in terms of bush control in the bot lane, but we shall see.
Ooh. Shin for Spaghetti Spire immediately picked up as the first pick for them. I find that to be a little bit interesting because coming into this series, Maokai was a jungle champion that Witch at Black Mass has played throughout the season quite a bit, but Shin's also one that Jace with 12 gauge has also picked up a lot. So I find that to be a little bit odd that these two teams taking off like each other's, and maybe not quite comfort is a little bit of an exaggeration with that term, but definitely ones that the others have played before, ones that you don't see all that often in their respective roles. When picking that for themselves, Yunar are also going to be in the hands of Spaghetti Spire, with the response being the Jin for some Stunned Gaming Eclipse.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like this Jin pick, but I feel as though Yunara offers a little bit more mobility as well as a little bit of agency in terms of slow, whereas Jin just has that root skill shot. So if he doesn't hit that, could be worrisome. But we have the Karma being paired, so what do you think of that synergy?
I think Karma is just generally an all-around really good support. She could do just about everything. Jack of all trades, master of AoE shields for your team in team fights later on. So not even a master of none is the reason why Karma has been one of the more popular supports in recent months, especially because in lane she can help secure push a lot better than other range supports. But the Lulu going to be hit up by the Inari. When I talk about synergy, it is one that has, I'm not saying an all-timer because of how recent Yunara is a release of a champion, but definitely one that has been played a lot at all levels of play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one misposition, one misstep, Yunara Lulu can punish that severely. So it's going to be all about, in these early matchups for the bot lane, kind of positioning and getting that poke off, as well as just cooldown management in general, because just Jin has one getaway free card, and if that misses, it could get sticky real fast for them.
Also thinking on the side of Stun Gaming Eclipse, them picking up the Karma does also lose a little bit of surprise on the potential flexibility of Maokai. I mean, maybe there is the outlandish top lane rotation up, but also on that front, they're also kind of lacking a little bit of damage right now. Jin not exactly the highest DPS champion ever, and so the Spaghetti Spire targeting that mid lane champion pool of Toke Life. Yeah, because Took's the Canadian. I think that's how you spell it, the beanie. Either way, their mid laner, taking away the Orianna is a very common pick. Picking up the Galio for them as well, and one would get it out of their hands. I don't think Galio would have been as impactful because, again, low damage. You want that when a mid laner could hopefully pick up the slack where the lack of damage comes in from the Jhin, but that'll still comfort game one. Don't want them to have it.
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing the Scion band out as well. I mean, with the Shin, I believe is going to be a top laner. They don't quite have a front line, so I'm curious to see, where these picks will pan out. And I like the Scion band just simply because of Jhin not exactly being the easiest multi-targeter in terms of DPS. We're going to see an Ahri pick, which is just classic.
Yeah, it's one that's been raising in popularity recently, and just high damage, lots of safety, and also good single target damage. Especially specifically if Shin does come through, it is potentially. I mean, River Shin is one that's also been kind of on the rise recently, and you land a taunt. Any sort of single target CC from the jungle makes upsetting ganks for the Ahri all that much easier. I mean, we see a much more classic combination being with the Vi, but it's a similar idea if that comes through. Meanwhile, on the other side, Stun Gaming Eclipse are going to answer that with the Victor, going to be looking for that range to not really want to interact with the Ahri at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Stun Gaming has a lot of, I would say, range and delay. So when they are able to, I think get away with playing a little bit more passive, but they also, I mean, shoot, with the Aatrox, they also have a lot of all-in power as well. So it'll be interesting to see these mid to late game team fights from them.
And especially as the game goes on, the Victor was talked about earlier, wanting to pick up the slack where the relatively low damage the Jhin has might be lacking. Victor certainly, once he gets around 2 or 3 items, especially 3, becomes completely untenable. But the Pantheon will be locked in for Spaghetti Spire. That one's probably more likely to be jungle, definitely a lot more popular as jungle champion than the top lane. Technically, those two are swappable, but if we're talking about in all likelihood, Pantheon, maybe not the most premier jungler, but certainly a top tier one with how easy it is to gank off with, shield vault. And again, combining with the Ahri with that single target CC, it's point and click for Pantheon. Mixed damage profiles. Got a very troublesome early game for the Victor if you can find a way in. If Took Life is not quite so careful about things, but with that, we have loaded onto the Rift. Raven working the magic behind the scenes with our fancy camera working. Now, we don't have to have a spectator delay here in Ember Esports this time around. So, yeah, straight away, getting right into things. And hold on, it's the River Shin.
Guy. That is the real River Shin right there. It's a new skin that just came out, I think. But yeah, we're going to get to a lane here. I'm excited to see. I mean, we're seeing the traditional 5-point coming out from the blue side, which I thought was kind of dead now because of the new minion spawn timers, but nonetheless, I mean, I kind of like that invades are kind of dead now. But we're seeing a Pantheon top.
I disagree, but that is what it is. I would get into it, but we don't exactly have a lot of time anymore because the minions have already crashing at level 1. But obviously we have a little bit of time for that. It is important now that they go straight away. It is the Pantheon top, and it does have a lot of pressure. It has a lot of instant damage, maybe not as prevalent as old Pantheon with the auto attack blocks, but certainly one that you get a fully empowered Q, you drop it, and then all of a sudden your health bar is just completely deleted. And well, straight away, taking over that top lane matchup, early signs are positive for Moonshot, especially as he's taking Ignite instead of Teleport.
Yeah, I mean, initially I didn't love this composition from Stunned Gaming, but with the Aatrox online, I think that there's a lot more agency for them in these team fights, but it also is just a battle of positioning and cooldown management. Beautiful roots from Goal Freak, kind of, checking my skepticalness about, landing those. Bro's showing me that he can. So, just a classic kind of farming phase here. Some trades.
Yeah, junglers also starting same side of the map, going from bot to top. Talked about some of that, the action that could be happening in the top lane, especially as Moonshot has performed so well. One of the best top laners in Ember Scorch League so far this season. Currently 3rd in kills per game at the end of regular season, so both junglers wanting to impact that lane, especially with the twisted advance from Jace with 12 gauge, can definitely set something up for sneaky Moonshot, especially with the Ignite, can cause some volatility. Already has a push, is already starting to look in, gets some vision on the Jace with 12 gauge, gets the shield vault down onto him, looking to push forward, but Witch at Black Mass is quite far away. They're going to need a lot of time for the Shin to arrive, but he does lands the taunt onto Jace with 12 gauge, passes over the wall, but Moonshot's gone low, flashes forward in response. Shield vault gets first blood to Moonshot. Can he survive for much longer? The Guardian proc keeps him alive for a little bit longer, but not long enough. Sneaky will return the kill, but does have to flash to the safety of his tower.
I mean, that's one for one in the top lane, so I guess it doesn't feel too bad for Sneaky, even though that was a very suspicious altercation. You're gonna come out relatively even here on the top lane.
Yeah, it does get the kill, but as of this new season, First Blood does give you back that extra 100 gold, as it didn't last year. So it's an extra bit of injection of income for Moonshot. He also was, oh wait, hold on. We've got Chong Solmo in a ton of trouble. Going to have to flash away. Not going to burn the heal though. So we'll have access to that a little bit later. All the while, Spaghetti Spire do lose out on the double scuttle. So won't quite press that advantage that much further. But Moonshot, going back on that original point, does come back to lane with a Caulfield's Warhammer. With that extra little bit of CDR.
I swear they have hit every single one of those roots. So, impressive.
Yeah, I mean, especially that last one from downtown that got the flash out of Chong Solmo, who was a bit unaware of how much kill pressure was onto him. Could have flashed early, maybe have saved his health bar a little bit. Probably would have likely had to recall anyway with how low it was before, but it was one of those things as ifs, ands, or buts. Going to come back with a little of a fairy charm and boots, giving himself that extra mana regen. But talking about the strength of the Karma earlier and the ability for this support to be able to help secure a push, especially over the likes of the Lulu. We're starting to see the amount of pressure get to the bot lane of the Spaghetti Spire, and we didn't get to see too much of it because of, well, where the camera was placed, but just based on previous knowledge, it's fair to say that the strength of this Karma was a large portion in the success of Stun Gaming's bot lane.
Yeah, for sure. The strength of this matchup between Karma and Lulu. Oh, look at this trades though. Toklak getting a fat bit of damage, and that's gonna be an
I
ult
don't think that'll
invested,
be
but not
enough.
quite. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite going to get the kill, but it will force the recall out of Pineaholic. Will have to teleport back. First Drake is on the map, so can't quite use that to... Oh, wait, hold on. Grand Starfall into the mid lane from Moonshots. We'll try to pick out Took Life. We'll go forward with the shield vault. Not quite aware that Jace with 12 gauge is nearby. And as you mentioned, it's a good gravity fill from Took Life to get the kill onto Moonshot. But the Ignite drops onto the mid laner of Stun Gaming, and Moonshot will pick up the kill. Meanwhile, Tolt, no health, no mana, is dangerously low. So is Ghoul Freak. So the bot lane of Spaghetti Spire answer back in a big way.
Man, I mean, all across the map, Stun Gaming is kind of on the back foot right now, but a beautiful route from Jason 12 gauge. Not sure if there's going to be really a play to come out of that, and a fab bit of damage from Pineaholic, showing that kind of spike there from Lost Chapter being purchased. And I mean, in terms of mid lane, this matchup I think is relatively even. It's about being able to, you know, sidestep those skill shots as well as hit your own.
Yeah, Pineaholic doing a really good job of that, and it reflects in CS. 10 up now over Took Life, also with those few exchanges in both the mid and bot lane. Very much going the way of Spaghetti Spire. They pick up the first Drake of the game somewhat early, definitely before the Grubs have spawned. That being said, these days, Void Grubs, they're honestly more of a luxury objective more than anything. Not exactly the most impactful with permanent turret plates, but it's definitely one that can be contested now that the Drake's not on the map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Void Grubs were a little bit more valuable before the crystallization of those towers, but I still think it's nice to have, especially when you're going for those pushes in the late game. It's nice to have those, especially if you're kind of at a deficit in terms of plates. But early game, not going to quite be the most thing on your priority list. I mean, beautiful roots from Ghoul Freak here. But you also have to keep in mind, you know, cooldown management as well as mana. Don't know if that poke is quite worth the trouble there of your mana usage if you're Ghoul Freak. But that's just semantics for me.
I mean, he's still got a decent amount of mana left in his bar. The amount of push that the bot lane of Stun Gaming gets usually means that they can probably take relatively comfortable recalls without missing out too much. Speaking of the Void Grubs, as mentioned earlier, Witch at Black Mass has moved straight onto them and has now claimed the first one. Jace with 12 gauge is technically nearby, but considering how the top lane matchup is currently going with Moonshot almost over 20 CS up over Sneaky, they might try to find a gank into top lane instead. World Ender will be popped. Stand United is dropped. Moonshot will get that shield. The taunt finds its way onto 2. Sneaky, the target, they're doing their best to burn down Moonshot. They will get him in the end. They continue on. Double kill picked up by Sneaky, so a very good response from Stun Gaming to not shy away from danger with that Stand United coming through.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Aatrox Gaming if I've ever seen it. They're being so low on health, but surviving, getting that reset in terms of health, and it was just GG's from there. But it was very close there for a second there. I was a little bit scared, but I mean, it's Aatrox. The health regen is something else, especially in the late game. That will definitely be kind of a raid boss, in my opinion, as long as Sneaky stays in it.
Yeah, and so now, despite being down over 20 CS, or basically 20 CS, Sneaky has definitely made up with it in terms of gold. 3-0-0 on the Aatrox. Not going to be worried all too much now. Gets that Spear of Shojin completed in his inventory, so will be on pace with Moonshot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely goes to show, you know, this isn't, you know, advice at all. Don't tell anyone that I told you this, but sometimes farms isn't the most important thing always, but it's definitely something you should prioritize. But Sneaky showing, just because you have a deficit in minions doesn't mean the game is over. But Moonshot getting some fat damage here on a Sneaky though. It's looking pretty dire. I don't know. Especially with that empowered Q execute, you do not want to be that low in front of a relatively healthy Pantheon.
And will cancel the recall of Sneaky as well. He's looking like he might look for a dive. World Ender is back up in 3 seconds. He will find the kill before it gets its way. So won't get that little burst of health. Commits just in time. Moonshot picking up a solo kill onto Sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, Moonshot showing kind of what the stats are all about that you were talking about and putting some money where the mouth is, I would say.
Yeah, he's third in kills per game for a reason, but Jace with 12 gauge does arrive, does mean Moonshot can't recall, and also opens up potential gank for which at Black Mass and Pineaholic. Nature's Grasp comes through. Won't quite find the damage onto Moonshot just yet, but he's way too low. Sneaky just needs a few more auto attacks. The Eclipse shield comes through. Sneaky won't mind. That's the kill answered in return. Fourth of the game for Sneaky. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Tolt will land the snare onto Chong Solmo. Chong Solmo actually getting pretty aggressive, knowing he does have the help of which at Black Mass nearby. But it wasn't looking as dire as early as these supports, these two bot lanes. I'm just back away as Drake is spawning up. It's a good deadly flourish. Finds way onto Chong Solmo from long range. Jeff Black Mass is nearby, will start up the Drake, but it has taken a little bit. Jace with 12 gauge is in the air, does not have access to the Twisted Advance, but as you see, we've got Tuke Life moving down, trying to pinch in Spaghetti Spire's team. Now they're trying to escape, but the curtains will be called, the slows will be dropped. Not a lot of damage comes through. Fourth shot only hits Witch at Black Mass. Pineaholic has arrived as well. Smite comes down. Hextech Drake goes the way of SGE. Witch at Black Mass tries to find a taunt. Not quite going to find Tolt. Jace with 12 gauge on the wrong side of the map, but Pineaholic is very low. Can he get the kill in return? No, he does not. The passive heal from Pineaholic keeps him alive. And Spaghetti Spire, they don't get the Drake, but they get one kill, and they might look for a little bit more. Grand Starfall comes through with the stand united. The rest of the Spaghetti Spire have something to say about this. Tolt, one for auto away, goes to Frostbite. Double kill. No, it is Moonshot who actually picked up that second kill, but 3 kills go the way of Spaghetti Spire unanswered.
I mean, wow, these plays across the map. I mean, the play top lane for this Eclipse team was beautiful in response to that first solo kill. But now, I mean, that, what was it, 3 deaths in response to a Drake? I don't know. Some interesting plays that are responding to plays across the map that I really like to see. It's interesting and it's scary, you know, it's something that kind of happens at the drop of a hat. It's not something that's planned almost, but you're gonna see, it's gonna be interesting to see the deficit in terms of economy from these plays answering each other.
1K up to the side of Spaghetti Spire, and going back on how planned it looked, I will say the combination of the Stand United and the Grand Starfall, at least in that last play, looked very much coordinated, looked very well practiced, with Moonshot and Witch at Black Mass arriving to make that fight very much Spaghetti Spire favored. And a not insignificant reason why they do find themselves with a 1K gold lead, which is again a not insignificant lead, but not an insurmountable one. The shield vault not quite going to hit Sneaky, won't quite find the stun, but it's only trying to buy time for Witch at Black Mass to arrive. World Ender is popped, the heals are coming through, but they're not enough to keep Sneaky alive. Moonshot picks up his 5th kill of the game.
I mean, Moonshot just really having a good game this match. I mean, really having agency across the entire map from that Starfall, and, you know, not getting punished for it either, which feels great for Spaghetti Spire here.
Yeah, 5, 4, and 1 on the Pantheon has been a large focus of Spaghetti Spire's team in their victories. The I guess few that they've had so far this year. Try not to blame too hard, but hold on. Jace with 12 gauge gets a kill onto Moonshot. Looks like a solo kill considering the location of things that had gone down. So it's not something you see every day. The jungle Maokai picking up a solo kill, but the taunt lands down onto Tolt. Polymorph comes through, nowhere to go for this Karma. Will try to speed himself up, but it just goes into the hands of Frostbite. Almost would have been better to give it over to Witch at Black Mass or Chong Solmo.
I mean, Which at Black Mass also, having so much agency across the map as a jungler as well as, Shin Gaming. But honestly, I'm really loving the way that's
a little bit of
Spaghetti
an
Spire.
odd dive. Taunt going to
Yeah.
force the flash out of Ghoul Freak. Luckily, Frostbite and Witch at Black Mass get out of the tower range before it really ramps up. But Chong Somo was taking quite a few tower shots there. It was looking somewhat bad, but in the end, it works out just fine for Spaghetti Spire.
Yeah, I mean, Spaghetti Spire really just playing the map really well. They just have really great agency in terms of pushing in these towers as well as prioritizing objectives. And their team fight has looked pretty great as well in terms of timing and positioning.
All the while, that did allow for Stun Gaming Eclipse to be able to clear out some of the jungle and the top side map. Get that top lane tier 1 tower as well. Hopefully get Sneaky a little bit extra gold. Has brought that gold deficit back to, or the CS deficit to be just about even. And well, actually the gold total about level 2. But if we're talking about gold, a lot of that lead is in the hands of Frostbite on the Yunaro Ope. 1.3k gold over their lane counterpart in Ghoul Freak. It's definitely a very important member that you want to be able to be getting ahead, especially as you get around to that 3-item power spike on the Yunara. Things start to become untenable if you do get there.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely not what you want to be seeing if you are Stunned Gaming. I mean, are getting beefy early like this. It's a bad look, especially because I feel like she has a lot more agency in terms of multi-target damage, whereas Jin kind of
Jace
has
with
to
12
focus.
gauge, though, is trying to set up a play. Going to use the Twisted Advance as a Twisted Retreat. The taunt not quite going to find anyone. Grand Starfall a little bit too far away from the members of Stun Gaming, but they have enough to at least force the flash away from Jace with 12 gauge. But now the teleport from Sneaky comes in. Frostbite is low. It's a fight all over the place. Tolt's taken quite low, but it's only Pineaholic into the backline. Gets the first kill. Will be able to heal up with the Ahri passive. Meanwhile, Moonshot able to secure the kill onto Sneaky. So 2 kills go the way of Spaghetti Spire with the Drake spawning, but Moonshot wants a little bit more, gets the shields coming through, not without losing his life, but he does get one in return and forces Stun Gaming away from this Drake, but they still have a smite available. They might be able to steal it. It's not fast enough. Frostbites! Not quite going to be killed. Will use a Honey Fruit to heal up. Going to slow them down. Took Life doing his best to try to find a few kills in the straggling members of Stun Gaming, but won't quite be able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful work from Pineaholic there, just kind of zoning off that Jin ult, denying any sort of damage to be done. And I feel like at that point, it was hard to deal any damage towards Spaghetti Spire. Any target is getting really, I would say, peeled there. So, really unfortunate team fight, as well as losing the Drake there. 2 Drakes to 1. Not an insane deficit quite yet, but slowly but surely, Spaghetti Spire is surmounting this lead.
Yeah, it has expanded to 2.5k gold. Second Drake, as you mentioned, not exactly the most important, but it does mean that if Spaghetti Spire do pick up the next one, it will be Soul Point. Luckily, it is a while before that next Drake spawns, and even more so for the subsequent one, in the hypothetical situation that they do pick it up. One thing that is a bit closer is this Baron, one that can't exactly be taken on a spawn, but definitely one that causes teams to get a little bit more cautious around these fights with how big of an objective it can be if you lose in a big way.
Yeah, and I mean, Spaghetti Spire has and time again been showing that if Stun Gaming isn't organized and not well prepared / positioned, that they're able to punish it very easily. And Baron is one of those things that very much can show those cracks in the way that teams position and prepare for those objective fights.
And as a result, these teams starting to show a little bit of preference towards the top half of the map. Again, just tentative push and pull, poke and prod, try to find a way in. As we wait for that, Yunara of Frostbite has completed the Fiend Hunter Bolts, giving you that extra cooldown on the ability to transcend oneself, gives you that extra attack speed and the guaranteed crits. is a decent spike of power for this champion. Not the biggest one ever. Usually wait on those 3 items, but certainly not a bad checkpoint to reach, especially with said Baron up and available for any fight that could break out. Pineapple though, going to try to land the charm, not quite going to do it, but it does get the flash out of Took life. It's a bit important as the next Drake spawns in 2 minutes. They won't have that with how mobile the Victor is. Could be troublesome, but Chong Somo taking down to half HP. Taunt not quite going to find its way onto Fletch at Black Mass, but Moonshot going to take Ghoul Freak very low, forces the Jhin almost completely out of the fight. Moonshot's a bit separated from the rest of his team, but they finally collapse. Toltz will be taken down by Moonshot. The curtains will be called, but the show's already over for Stun Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, time and time again, I've seen this Jhin pick, and I feel as though he just cannot find the value that they're looking for, even with the curtain call. It's just not there in terms of damage output, and I feel like it's just not the most effective ADC in comp
Stand
play right
United
now.
will be dropped onto Moonshot, which at Black Mass won't quite find the taunt, but the stun from the shield vault comes through, and Pineaholic will be able to secure the kill onto Sneaky, who spent a lot of time split pushing in this top lane to get that top lane tier 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth that top push there, but so many people... I mean, Spaghetti Gaming just, like, really great at punishing over pushes, wrong positioning here. It's a hard game to play right now for Stun Gaming.
Still 2.5k up to the side of the Spaghetti Spire. Baron still on the map, so despite how Spaghetti Spire had played in those last 2 fights, didn't quite have such a decisive advantage to be able to pick up that Baron, but more importantly now the next Ocean Drake is spawning in 30 seconds. Flash forward from which at Blast Mass gets the taunt at max range when Jace with 12 gauge. They'll do their best to CC him down to be able to escape. Jace with 12 gauge will get out without having to burn anything. No flash for Witch at Black Mass though, so really Spaghetti Spire committing quite a bit for what's not much in the end. Taunt tries to Pineaholic. Frostbite now the target, taken low. 3rd shot, 4th shot, not quite going to hit, but Frostbite's already low, does get the kill onto Jace at 12 gauge, peeling away. Chong Somo will use the Wild Growth on himself. No kills to the side of Stun Gaming just yet, but Chong Somo hit by the Q1, Q2, going to hit Witch at Black Mass. Q3 not going to hit the mark. Moonshot now joining the fight, trying to find the stun onto Sneaky, will be hit by the gravity field, and Sneaky gets killed onto Moonshot, does get the reset on the World Ender, and so Spaghetti Spire has to peel away. Q1 hits Pineaholic, Q2 hits Witch at Black Mass, but those aren't the consistent targets. Pull back on the Infernal Chains, not quite going to set up anything else, but Stun Gaming Eclipse does get the mid lane tier 1 of Spaghetti Spire, but with how low these health bars are on both teams, they'll just lick their wounds, recall, and look to go again with the Ocean Drake still on the map.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting team fight. It wasn't, I think, the strongest in terms of damage output, but Sneaky, I have to say, some beautiful peel, and just the bruiser is bruising, and that's exactly what you want to see from Stun Gaming. It's a little bit of a light in the end of the tunnel that they were able to get a kill there, but again, just another team fight about to break out over this Ocean Drake, and I think this is an important one for Stun Gaming to win.
Yeah, Spaghetti Spire are on the potential to get soul point if they win this fight. Moonshot will shield bolt in onto Sneaky, just get a little poke down. Sneaky gonna hop over the wall, yield the inside positioning to Spaghetti Spire in around the river. They don't want to commit too much. Twisted advance going to drop down onto Witch at Black Mass, finds a snare onto 2, but Moonshot and Witch at Black Mass relatively tanky. Pineaholic is found out by the Twisted Advance, will use the Spirit Rush immediately. So that'll tick down, won't have too many charges of it. Q2, Q3 now from Sneaky, will find the mark. It's down onto Moonshot, but Sneaky's low. Sneaky can't heal up fast enough. Frostbite's going on a rampage. Frostbite has transcended one itself, but Took Life gets the kill on to the Aura in return. Frostbite's Transcendence will eventually expire. They're looking to wait that one out, and it has now expired, so no ult for Frostbite. Very big point of power for the Yunara. Vision looks to go the way of Stun Gaming. Jace with 12 gauge moves forward, knocks back Witch at Black Mass. Won't quite find the kill onto the Shin, but he is relatively low. At this point, we'll have to back away. It'll be a while for Rich at Black Mass to return. And now the Grand Starfall drops from Moonshot from downtown, but the rest of Spaghetti Spire are a bit far away to fully collapse onto it. But the Stand United follow-up gets the taunt onto 2. Tolt has to flash away to stay alive, but Jace with 12 gauge goes down. There's the slide available. To teleport comes in from Sneaky. He's respawned in all of that time. Shutdown goes the way of Tuke-like. Second kill goes the way of Sneaky, which at Black Mass has to retreat. Chong Somo also running as fast as they can to escape. It's a good deadly flourish from Ghoul Freak to land the CC to prevent the escape of the Lulu. Q1 lands on the Pinaholic. Q2 lands on the Pinaholic. Q3 won't find the knockup just yet, but all the charges of the Spirit Rush are out of there. And so there's no way for Pinaholic to possibly contest this Ocean Drake. And the second Ocean Drake for Stun Gaming is picked up, and they prevent Soul Point going the way of Spaghetti Spire.
I mean, this was definitely a show of resilience and patience from Stun Gaming there. I mean, just skirmish after skirmish. It wasn't a full-on team fight, but I think I like that from Stun Gaming there. And I mean, the respawn timers, that was just cinema. Just so fun to watch, you know, people dying and then coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, and, you know, it was a very important one for them, as I mentioned before. Fencing the Soul Point going the way of Spaghetti Spire, delaying things out a little bit longer, but they weren't able to win that so convincingly that they were able to pick up Baron off of it, unfortunately. So despite being at the 27.5-minute mark, first Baron still left unclaimed. Tolt getting dangerously far forward. There's only Chong Somo nearby, so not really anything that which at Black Mass can't fully commit onto. While in the bot lane, a little bit of extra gold goes the way of Spaghetti Spire, getting that bot lane tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, both bot and top tier 1s were dangerously low, just 1 odd away from falling. So I think it's split push of doom time in terms of Spaghetti Spire playing across this map. They have so much agency to pressure wherever they want because of that Starfall as well as that Shin ult. They can do a lot more and get away with it.
Yeah, and the global utility of the Stand United, or really any global ultimate, does allow that ability to maneuver the map a little bit more aggressively, which at Black Mass is certainly met up with Moonshot on multiple occasions so far this game, to be able to have that semi-global arrival of the Pantheon. And the Shin from anywhere has definitely caused a few fights to be lopsided in favor of Spaghetti Spire. Talked about Spaghetti Spire and being lopsided not too long ago. They were up 2.5k gold, which admittedly post 25 minutes is not the biggest lead ever, but it has shrunken in that amount of time around that last fight down to flash forward from Moonshot, and the Stand United will come through, used aggressively, but it's a good Q1, Q2 stops the advance from which at Black Mass. Really good awareness from Sneaky, but no World Ender will be available, but equally no Stand United for which at Black Mass.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice to get that out of the hands of which at Black Mass. It's just so oppressive in terms of, you know, macro plays. And
Pinaholic casts the Spirit Rush early. The charm misses wide, so Jace 12 grade uses the twist in advance. The curtain will be called. Tried to find the slows onto Pinaholic, but Solmo and Frostbite have arrived. He'll going to have to be popped by Chong Solmo to keep himself alive. No flash, no Spirit Rush for Pinaholic, though, as Stun Gaming start to turn around. They can't really threaten the Baron just yet. They get some positioning around to try to make things dark for Spaghetti Spire, but
oh no.
Grand Starfall dropped in from Moonshot. As we know, there is no Stand United from which at Black Mass. It was a straight up 1v1. The Ignite drops onto Sneaky, who doesn't have the World in there just yet. So Moonshot able to damage through the healing of Sneaky. Very good awareness from Moonshot to know that the full potential of Sneaky isn't there, and he gets yet another solo kill in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a well-placed Starfall. And I mean, at this point, that's an okay loss. I mean, I'm okay with Sneaky dying there just because, you know, there's nothing significant on the map right now. The wave was pushed in, so it's not too bad of a look for Stun Gaming in terms of this match, but again, I mean, this performance from Moonshot is just textbook.
Yeah, I think the 8 deaths are also part of textbook Pantheon performance. We're being completely honest.
Yeah.
If you're not dying, that's just how Pantheon goes, especially as the game goes on.
I mean, if you're not dying, you're not trying.
Yeah, this is the truth, especially for Pantheon. That's just how it goes. The amount of value that he's brought has certainly outweighed the deaths so far. However, that does mean that the gold is now exactly even or close to it. 31 minutes and not a lot separating these teams. However, Toltz going to be taking sub 50% HP. Won't have to use any of their summoner spells though. So we'll be alright. Probably can just recall, be able to get back into the fight, but it will take a little bit to do so, especially with the next Ocean Drake spawning in 15 seconds. Deadly Flourish not quite hitting Frostbite there. Again, just more poking and prodding, trying the best to be able to secure the positioning for this next Drake spawning now. Something that Spaghetti Spire might not need so direly as they have a few semi-globals with pullback on the Infernal Trains. Gets Witch at Black Mass. The Wild Growth will be used to try to keep him alive, but Tuke Life secures that kill. It's a beautiful use of the Maokai ultimate. Frostbite goes down, and Chog Solmo has to run as fast as they possibly can to get away, but it gets a little bit close for Tuke Life. Can't quite secure the kill, but the burn does. Tuke Life now 6-1-4 on the victor. A perfect engage from Stun Gaming sets them into the gold lead potentially for the first time this game and puts them on soul points.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful work from Stun Gaming there, as well as being able to bring them back in terms of gold. And I just want to say the Leandry's Blackfire Torch combo from Toke Life is some dirty work. And we got Baron being taken here. I like this call, definitely a good one, and hopefully they'll get a good push out of this, but we're gonna have some contestation
Witch at Black
here.
Mass is back up, does have the stand united if they can find a way into contest, but it's burned down a little bit too fast. Baron goes away of a Stun Gaming. They might look for a little more, but we'll back off knowing that the rest of Spaghetti Spire were on their way.
Yeah, I mean, I like them not getting too greedy there, but this push is a good call from Spaghetti Spire.
Yeah, going to use the extra tempo they have from the recalls of Stun Gaming to pick up that tier 1 tower. And hold on, Jason Tovich going to have to flash away. Really good charm from Pineaholic to secure that extra damage down onto the jungler of Stun Gaming, but Spaghetti Spire might have stayed a little bit too long themselves. They have to retreat. Pineaholic going to Spirit Rush Way, does land the charm onto the victor. It's a really good layering of the CC. Shutdown goes the way of Pineaholic. And so, despite how that last fight went, despite not having the Baron themselves, charm from Pineaholic not quite going to hit Sneaky, but still, really good pick from Spaghetti Spire, really good pick from Pineaholic to pick himself up a shutdown.
I mean, definitely going to bring them back in terms of gold. And it's going to push and pull this entire match here in terms of who has the lead and who can maintain it. And I think these team fights, Stun Gaming is able to kind of scale, and that's exactly what you want to see. My issue is, I feel like Jhin is just going to become very stagnant. And that is, as I say that, did I hurt their feelings?
I mean, we did see Ghoul Freak DC a little bit earlier. We haven't quite had a pause from it, so I'm going to assume that it was very temporary, maybe lasting just a few seconds. So we'll move on through it. But yeah, the timing was certainly uncanny on the DC there. But that means with the Baron buff in the hands of Stun Gaming, they will be able to push in a little bit more. But for being completely frank, the first minute of this Baron power play for Stun Gaming really hasn't exactly gone to plan for them.
It's definitely not a power play by any means. It was a good call, but they haven't been able to capitalize or gain anything from it other than, you know, the objective gold. But I don't know. What more can they do here? And Sneaky has been punished multiple times for this split pushing, and we're going to see Moonshot match it as well. So, could be sticky, but maybe we can get some good damage on this mid tower. Spirit Rush being invested by Pineaholic here.
Tries to find the way onto Ghoul Freak. Does get the flash out of the Jhin. And also with Moonshot being there in the bottom lane does prevent that tier 2 tower from going down.
Oh.
Sneaky goes in, finds around Chong. Soma Wild Growth will too keep him alive a little bit longer, but Took Life eventually picks up that first kill. Ghoul Freak very low. Grand Starfall splits the fight. Jace with 12 gauge going to go golden. Moonshot goes down, and Stun Gaming press for triple kill for Took Life. Looking for a bit more. Frostbite finds a kill in return, but it's a quadra kill for Took Life, picking up, I believe, their first of the season and a clean ace, or not quite clean ace. Sneaky was traded back in the exchange, but with how long the death timers are, game 1 eventually goes the way of Stun Gaming with a handful of really clean team fights at the end.
Oh yeah, I mean, what a comeback there. Early game a little bit sketchy, but I think it was still pretty even. But being able to capitalize off these team fights, beautiful combo there. It's gonna be GG's, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, what a way to close things out in game 1. It looked very evenly matched, and in fairness, it was extremely close between these two teams. But I mean, the engage from Stun Gaming as a whole, the first time I'd say it was from Jason 12 gauge, that last one, Sneaky starting things out for them, as well as Took Life 11-2-5 on the victor. Certainly having a very stellar performance there in game 1 for Stun Gaming to put them within one game of advancing to the upper semis.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, really good performance from Sneaky as well as Toke Life there. I mean, at no point in the game did Toke Life ever feel overpowered, but as you can see from these damage charts, the damage output was there and it was online. As well as, you know, Sneaky just being that raid boss, so tanky, as well as outputting so much damage, but you have to hand it to Moonshot as well. I mean, bro was putting in the work.
40.7k damage on the Pantheon, as well as, I mean, to be fair, Frostbite on the Inara.
Yeah.
Did eventually get caught out a few times at key moments, which is certainly not ideal, but other than those handful of moments is exactly what, I mean, to be fair to Stun Gaming Eclipse, they capitalized on the only small handful of errors that Frostbite had, and well, yeah. I mean, look at the gold graph. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's really telling of how that game went. Very, very good comeback from Stun Gaming Eclipse, especially at the end. Their team fighting definitely next level and just showing a very strong performance here in game 1. But let's see if you have anything to add, Lucent. We're going to send it to a break. Oh, no.
Before we go to the break, I will just say a really great performance overall. Going into, you know, the next map here, I definitely expect, you know, the Jinx ban, the Smolder ban. It's probably going to be repeated here, just because in terms of scaling, that was kind of the nail in the coffin, I think. But yeah, don't go anywhere, guys. We have a match 2, and I'm sure, you know, with Fearless, as well as, you know, having a new composition in their hands, there's potential for them to come back from this.
Welcome back, Ember Esports, for game 2 between Stun.
Okay, yeah, so while Isaac comes back on cast, welcome back everybody for Stun Gaming Eclipse versus the Spaghetti Spire. In the previous matches in the regular season, the Spaghetti Spire overcame Stun Gaming, but now in the playoffs, Stun Gaming making a statement here with taking the first match here. So we shall see if the Spaghetti Spire can come back from this. They had a very good showing in the early game there. Moonshot getting a lot of those early kills, as well as, the Shin also having a lot of agency across the map, but now with Fearless.
Wait.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Hello, welcome back. I was just talking about how this
yes.
is Fearless, so we're not going to be seeing those characters anymore. We're going to see the same bands from last time, as well as an Ash pick first. Isaac, what do we think?
I think that definitely sets up the likelihood of Ash Seraphine coming through for Stun Gaming Eclipse. Has definitely been one of the more popular bot lane duos coming through. And it is in general, it is very potent and sets up nicely for itself with the near guaranteed snares from Seraphine. But Amumu and Xayah are immediately locked by the side of Spaghetti Spire. I think early Xayah is a little bit odd, though.
Odd as in not a usual pick from Spaghetti Spire, or as in Xayah in general a sus pick?
In general, early Xayah typically is easy to play around because, Xayah works best when you're running directly into her. If you have like a lot of dives, just presses R and recalls the feathers and does a bajillion damage. And then that's that. And so picking up R1 relatively early definitely allows Stun Gaming Eclipse to be able to play around this, to draft around it relatively easily. Gives them time to get some extra range for themselves. Victor is not available. It would be one of those champions that would kind of fit into that type of role that Xayah really doesn't like playing into. But Game Eclipse going to be picking up Dr. Mundo and Seraphine coming through to ensure. Don't tell me I'm disconnected again. What the heck?
You're glitching out a little bit, but
wait.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I don't even. It's cursed. No, the reason why I say that is because in the middle of it last time around, I could hear everything going on, so I didn't even realize I was disconnected until somebody said something. But either way, Braum locked in for the side of Spaghetti Spire. Not exactly a very good lane counterpart for them. However, getting the access to the Unbreakable does make things pretty good into the Seraphine. As time goes on, the Encore drops to up the Unbreakable and completely negates a lot of the power that Seraphine has.
Yeah, and I mean, Braum's shield in general, I think, is a really great answer to the CC lock that Ashe and Seraphine have in general for the bot lane. That way, if Xayah positions well, they should relatively be able to have a little bit more survivability than, a different kind of bruiser engage pick like Nautilus or Thresh or something. I think that they have a little bit more agency and survivability with that Braum, as well as in the team fight to be able to eat some of that C. C is pretty nice, especially with the Amumu on the board being pretty close quarters.
Yeah, and with Malphite, Galio, Gwyn, and Silas all taken off the board, getting rid of a lot of these low-range champions that can be played in and around the mid lane. I think it's a Malphite typically in the jungle these days, but Anivia will be locked in for the side of Spaghetti Spire, one that has been picking up in popularity in recent months. And alongside the Amumu, you got that double circle area effect that if you're within it, definitely spell disaster if you're Stun Gaming Eclipse.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they have a lot of good elements here that can make for a very advantageous team fight here with the Anivia ulti, as well as the Amumu stun and ult. Really still going to be an answer, which I like, kind of matching the slow and magic damage that Anivia has.
Yeah, and scales infinitely always feels quite good, especially with how long that last game went. Definitely be impactful if we get another nearly 40-minute game this time around. I mean, we saw it with the Victor with Tuklife. It's a very similar story with Aurelion, so a little bit more mobile, maybe not quite as long range, but the Zac going to be locked in by Stun Gaming Eclipse. Not exactly something we see every day, Relucent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Zac is more of a solo queue champion, in my opinion, but I also said that about Jhin, and it proved to be just enough to win them that match. So I can't be upset Yone being locked in as, I believe, the top laner. Okay. Front line for Spaghetti Spire is going to be a Mumu and Braum, which I don't hate entirely, but it's definitely sketchy in terms of a scaling Mundo and a Zac.
Yeah, definitely a lot of really big health bars to have to cut through on the side of Spaghetti Spire. But to be fair, if they can kite out enough, I mean, with the Anivia, with the Amumu, with the Xayah, that's a lot of damage coming through. As you mentioned already, with the Braum, with the Unbreakable, can stop the Encore from Seraph.
All right, as we get into the match here, it's gonna be interesting to see these early laning phases. Sneaky and Moonshot proving to be kind of very prominent, having a lot of prowess in the early game, although I'm not quite familiar with the matchup between a Yone and a Dr. Mundo. I feel like Dr. Mundo, it just lives and runs away, and that's kind of his MO. And with that spell shield built into his passive, I think that Moonshot won't be able to get as much cheese early from the airborne, but in terms of mid lane, it should be relatively boring without, a jungler gank, in my opinion. In the bot lane, we're going to see an Ashe Seraphine pinned up against a Xayah Braum, and I feel like it could go either way. A nice electrocute from Anivia. Gonna do a fat bit of damage there, and Tuklife opting for the Arcane Comet instead. I'm interested to see these junglers are pathing on opposite sides of the map here. Spaghetti Spire going from bot to top. But I mean, with the poke and the damage that Stun Gaming has, the bot lane's gonna get some early prio and some nice poke off. And Tuklife and Pinaholic really duking it out in the mid lane, trading health bars and damage. We'll see who comes out on top, and maybe if we get an early gank, what could happen there. Nice stun from Pinaholic, and another electrocute proc gonna do a lot of damage there. Dangerously low, but at this early in the game, you cannot immediately assume that that means the lane is won, especially with Jace with 12 gauge covering this little mid lane. It could be a good gank to jump over this wall, but who knows. A nice wall and stun coming out. Another electrocute proc, and Tuklife is dangerously low here. Gonna take a tower shot, and Jason with 12 is gonna get forced to flash from Pine, and it's gonna be the resurrection proc at 2 minutes 30 seconds. The resurrect going to pop, the stun coming out. Another electrocute proc, surely no. But Pinaholic just doing a fat bit of damage there. Wow.
All right. Well, didn't want to interrupt you there in the middle of your of your going off there. Yeah. I hold on. Okay. Wait. I think you're probably going to have to continue if I haven't disconnected already, because my feed on Discord it's literally a static image. So I'm going to try and fix that. So I guess okay. So you heard that. So I haven't fully disconnected, but I'll fix that before to pick up. I'm being let down by technical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy happening right now, Isaac. Nothing to worry about. A few little trades in the bot lane, but mana bars looking low for Chong Somo, as well as Ghoul Freak It's gonna be a battle of the jungler. Jason 12 gauge hovering right now once more.
Oh, wait.
But
Okay, there we go.
nothing
I'm
gonna
back.
happen quite yet.
Sorry.
And Frostbite and Chunks are just gonna walk away from this one.
Yeah, Jace with 12 gauge definitely within range to potentially use an elastic slingshot in, but with that bot Scuttle Crab still up and available, will opt to move towards it, but there is the extra push for the side of Spaghetti Spire. He does get the smite down, is able to get the Scuttle Crab. Ghoul Freak now trying to go in onto Frostbite. They made a push, they looked a little bit too far, which at Black Mass going to get the flash away from Tolt. So no flash on the support of Stun Gaming will make them a pretty vulnerable target for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, looks like some even trade in the top lane, and as I say even, Moonshot gets a good little kind of chunk there. But it is Mundo, so very healable. Some good trades. Ghoul Freak a little bit low on mana as well as Tolt. This is dangerous work, and which at Black Mass full health bar and a dream could make something happen if they so wish, but it's a little bit early in the game to be diving a tower.
Not only that, the amount that was needed to commit to like pushing the wave and bully to try to set up the dive, Frostbite had already committed the recall of the feathers, so wouldn't have been able to get that extra CC. It's a large portion of Zaya's damage. There weren't really a lot of tools left in the belt of the Spaghetti Spire members that were there, so it is definitely wise for them to have backed off. That being said, Tukalive taking a really good chunk from Pineaholic, taking low. Sky's Descend will stun Pineaholic and prevent him from advancing even more, prevent the solo kill from going over. And with Teleport, Tukalive will more than likely be okay to return relatively unharmed in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Tukalive definitely has been impressive in terms of livability, sometimes on the back foot in this mid lane matchup, but it does not matter. They're easily maneuvering around those deficits, which I have to commend Red Team getting this Ocean Drake early, which is a nice little advantage to have.
Gets that stacking up early on. Will allow them, especially if they can pick up the second one, to start to apply some extra pressure on to Stun Gaming. Force them to show some extra attention to the bottom half of the map, which they might just do right now. Jace with 12 gauge, again, within that elastic slingshot range, but Chunks Olmo, Frostbite, their spidey senses are tingling. The wave's really not an ideal spot. Comes through, elastic slingshot, Q lands way on the Frostbite, but gets snapped away. Chunks Olmo going to be able to hop away with the assistance of Frostbite, but no flashes on either of the bot lane members of Spaghetti Spire, but all the while Moonshot and Sneaky going at it. Maximum dosage already popped from Sneaky, going to heal him back up, and so Moonshot in a bit of trouble with how low his health bar is. Elastic Slingshot will be used again. Jace with 12 gauge going to find immediately another gank in onto Chong Solmo. The kill doesn't quite drop, but the recall will inevitably have to come through from the Braum of Spaghetti Spire, but that does mean there's nothing here on the top side of the map for Sneaky to help around. Moonshot going to eventually have to snap back. Witch at Black Mass holding on to the bandage toss for now, waiting for Sneaky to try to escape fully. Will eventually use it, does get the flash away, will hold on to it for a while. Must have had already committed the second use of it earlier, perhaps to clear things a little bit faster.
I mean, just some great livability coming from Sun Gaming right now, even if they are on the back foot. But I will have to say, this hover from Jace with the 12 gauge
comes through. Gets a flash out of Moonshot's very good response from Jace with 12 gauge.
Yeah, I mean, that's flash for flash in the top lane.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now no flashes on relatively immobile-ish top laners, though both have their own ways of escaping, in the case of Sneaky being the ultimate and just generally having a lot of health. Moonshot obviously having a handful of dashes, being able to snap back and ult as well. Certainly ways to maneuver things, but definitely lots of targets on the backs of Spaghetti Spire members between their bot lane and the top.
And Pineaholic is doing fat bits of damage here. It's going to be a rough kind of early laning phase for Tukalive, but we scale.
Yeah, and Saw how impactful they were later in the game, but it's a collapse onto Pineaholic with not much to go. Flash from Pineaholic over the wall aggressively to buy space, and the bandage toss lands its way onto the Ace Soul. First blood goes away, Witch at Black Mass, and the resurrection from Pineaholic. Just about perfect timing from that. Had lost his full health bar at least twice now this game, but has not died in the process.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful, beautiful work from Spaghetti Spire there. And I have to say, the Ghoul Freak there, setting that ult over... I mean, I saw the vision. If it had hit there, it might have been a different story. But we don't speak in what-ifs here. Chungsomo going for an early engage here. Tolt taking a fat bit of damage.
Stun onto Tolt. The recall the feathers finds the snare. It's a really good blade caller from Frostbite to ignore the encore. But Chungsomo's gone low, gets the stun. It's immediately cleansed by Ghoul Freak, but Ghoul Freak going to have to flash away from Frostbite. And so will not die in the process. A trade of 1-for-1 in terms of kills in the bot lane. But Ghoul Freak staying around very dangerously with very low health.
Yeah, definitely scary. If you are a Stunned Gaming fan, this is going to be scary for them to stay. But they're going to clear this wave and back. And Zaya is opting to also let them have it, which is fine here. Pineaholic here has got... Something's got to give. Been so oppressive in this mid lane here, and there's the answer. Toklife getting a fat bit of damage off.
Yep, it is up in CS, despite being on the I say scaling champion as if Anivia isn't, but you know, I mean, notoriously Aurelion Soul obviously gets the stacks of, I totally remember the name of his passive, but the Stardust. Either way, before you get on that front, gank in the top lane will be answered immediately by Witch at Black Mass. Curse of the Sad Mummy gets the stun onto Jason with 12 gauge. He does have the revive coming through. So eventually that should come back down if they can get the little droplets before the respawn comes through. They will secure the kill onto Jason with 12 gauge. Moonshot picking up that kill.
I just realized we have two resurrecting characters in the game here, Zac and Anivia, so it'll be fun to see in these team fights here. And not see, you know, if they are picked out early and don't have that at their disposal anymore. It'll be something to play around for sure for each team.
Yeah, neither will have it for the next few minutes. Pineaholic, we saw earlier, wasn't killed afterwards like the 12 gauge was, which is important to note, especially as we have the next Drake live and up to be taken. Should either team go for it, Spaghetti Spire can start to be able to get this stacking if they can secure their second Drake of the game. But it's a little bit too sensitive in the lanes right now to fully commit onto that with how much they're pushing back and forth. So probably have to wait a little bit to see that eventually taken. That being said, Witch at Black Mass, a little bit aggressive with it. Tolt gets forward, not marked by Chungsomo. Won't look for any collapse onto that. Frostbite a little bit too far away. Jason 12 gauge, they know is in the vicinity. They would be able to join up with that. So good patience from Spaghetti Spire to not fully commit onto Tolt. They will start up the dragon now. Toklife, having teleported back to the mid lane, will eventually arrive a little bit later, but it's not the fastest take ever from Spaghetti Spire. Drake now down at 3k health, slowly burning down. Jason 12 gauge does have an easy way in with the elastic slingshot, but it's a really good cancel from Chungsomo on the ultimate, and the smite comes down, but it's stolen, and it's an amazing encore. Hits 3, and it goes perfectly for Stunned Gaming. Eclipse, 3 kills unanswered. They get the steal on the Drake, they prevent the stacking, and the encore from Tolt was lined up perfectly.
I mean, beautiful, beautiful work here, and it puts them a little bit ahead here for the first time that we've seen in the early game. But we see Moonshot here answering that initial.
For a bit more fate sealed will drop on Ghoul Freak, encore for Tolt, and so indeed Ghoul Freak's fate is sealed by the ultimate of Moonshot when picking up his second kill of the game. Going to start to maybe become a point of pressure, is really close to picking up his Blade of the Ruined King.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely fate sealed for sure for Goal Freak there. But Moonshot being there wasn't exactly predictable. Oh, Jace with the 12 gauge gonna pop over Witch at Black Mask completely, but Moonshot's there. It might be
Moonshot
out
is
of position.
here.
Flash and
Gets
busted,
the flash.
but I don't know. Okay.
He's out. He's out.
Could have been a sticky situation if you weren't Zach.
Does cede some pressure to the side of Spaghetti Spire to move into the bottom, the blue side, top side jungle is the word I'm looking for. Allows Witch at Black Mask steal away the blue buff, get himself some extra gold, extra resources denied from Jace Hotel Gage, though admittedly not the biggest concern ever from Stun Gaming. You don't necessarily think of the Zac being the most resource-intense champion ever. That being said, Sneaky in trouble will pop the Maxim Dotions to start to heal back up. Moonshot eventually does have to snap back to the lane. So no ult from Sneaky, but just Dr. Mundo thinks he's already back at full health.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the passive health regeneration there. And look at the damage on this tower here. I mean, even though at the early game, Gold Freak felt like they were kind of on the back foot, they've been chopping away at this turret diligently, I will say. And Tolt here, I feel like has gone underrated player in the game.
Yeah, it does certainly help. Ghoul Freak gets to a 700 gold lead. That being said, Witch at Black Mass has arrived, told to use their double cast of the beat drop. Witch at Black Mass pushing forward, trying to find a way in, but that's the Ash Seraphine combo in its full effect. Only one beat drop is needed to secure the kill. Flash encore finds its way onto Frostbite. It's immediately cleansed away, but it won't matter. Chung Solmo immediately removed from the map. The teleport from Pinaholic comes through, but it's way too late to help out his support.
I mean, definitely some great work there. And
Pinaholic getting way too aggressive on the Anivia. Going to have to flash away before the egg form even comes through. Would have quickly been burnt through that if they didn't cast it. Way too aggressive from Pinaholic.
Yeah, I mean, so many significant summoner spells.
All right.
We just missed
Solo
that.
kill for Moonshots off camera.
I think we missed it.
3-0.
But then again, Moonshot can get all the glory. A lot of investments in terms of summoner spells in the bot lane. Toke Life here gonna have a little bit of an advantage in terms of...
Sky's Descent finds its way, does a lot of damage onto Pinaholic, is resurrecting, but Tuklite out of mana. Can't quite fully find the kill onto Pinaholic. Third time this game, Pinaholic gets out. That being said, Frostbite going to have to recall the Feathers. Teleports dropping down into the bottom lane. Fate sealed, ready to go from Moonshot. Ready to get some kills. Q3 finds way onto Tolt and Ghoul Freak pushing their advantage. Not quite going to find the kills just yet. Eventually snaps back. Frostbite gets kill onto Tolt. Not before the teleport of Sneaky comes through at full health. Presses forward. Casts the maximum dosage, but can't heal fast enough. Witch at Black Mass picks up a second kill of the fight, going the way of Spaghetti Spire.
Yeah, I mean, Frostbite is just shredding them now. And with the 700 gold bounty, it's kind of clear who is on the advanced kind of
I think
foot
that's
now.
200.
Is it?
32. It looks like two. It would be insane if it was 700 at 103.
It must be my Chungus monitor here. It looks like a 7 for me.
I could see why you would make the mistake, and it very well might. If it is 700 gold, there's just something wrong with this game. If that's the case, there's just something fundamentally wrong if they have a 700 gold shutdown on their head. Tuklife, though, the target of Moonshot, who does so much damage. Oh my goodness, Moonshot. One of the highest kills per game in the league, and put it on full display here in the series.
Yeah, 4-0-2. Guy is a beast right now. And Yone is one of those characters that I feel like doesn't ever really fall off. I mean, there's so much value in terms of CC as well as just pure AD.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about big shutdowns, 500 on Moonshot has access to his second item now. Will get the Bloodline passive, get himself that extra shield when he gets low, so it's going to be that much harder to kill Moonshot. And yeah, it's just going to generally be a problem for Stun Game to deal with.
Yeah, especially with squishy characters like Seraphine versus a Braum who can withstand a little bit more damage in these team fights. I'm afraid of how tanky Braum and Amumu are, but hopefully we can see. I mean, my worry is how shreddy Xayah is. If the ADC could get a good kind of backline positioning, it's going to be hard to shut it down. And Moonshot here just going in for it. Fat damage coming in, man.
And not a care in the world from Moonshot. At least Sneaky does have access to the Bramble Vest. Will prevent some of that healing coming through onto Moonshot. So definitely the best answer that they could have into this Yone, but cuts straight through Sneaky. The maximum doses will be popped. Immortal Shield Bow will be used by Moonshots and won't have that pass available to him. Now, Ashley with Jason with 12 gauge arriving will mean that Moonshot has to back away. Next Strix has a Wild 2 spawn, so it's quite a bit committed from these two teams to kind of face towards it. Frostbite, a little bit of trouble. Elastic Slingshot, not quite going to hit the mark. Chunk's almost there, and any danger for Frostbite is immediately gone.
Yeah, I mean, that Braum shield just doing exactly what I thought it would, denying a lot of that CC value. They can get away with a little bit more of it. I mean, Sneaky here playing with fire.
It's no ult left on Sneaky, and Moonshot picks up his 5th kill of the game. Yet another solo bow. Pineaholic in trouble though, doesn't have access to the egg form, won't be able to come back from this health bar going down this time. Life picking up his 3rd of the game.
I mean, they're gonna pressure this mid lane. Can Spaghetti Spire get the last auto on this? But I mean, Ghoul Freak is not gonna let up.
Well, talk about his own is not going to let up either. It's Moonshot pushing even further into the bottom lane. 5-0-2. Going to recall. It certainly has a lot of gold in inventory and a 667 gold shutdown on their heads. Anywhere that Moonshot is on the map is the immediate danger for Stun Gaming. And 95, if not more percent of this 3.5k gold lead that Spaghetti Spire has is in the hands of Moonshot alone.
Yeah, I mean, with the strong top lane as well as a really strong bot, I think these team fights are going to be a little bit challenging until they can catch up.
Oh, but the Candy Crystal Arrow finds its way down, but Cleanse is available to Frostbite. Cassid immediately stunned from the sky, just then drops, but it's not enough to find the damage. But Chong Solman was too far afraid. Witch at Black Bass doing their best to turn things back around, is relatively taking on the Moon, but goes in with the second cast of the bandage toss. Moonshot picks up a 6th of the game and finds the Q3 onto Tolt, so immediately picks up a double kill as well. Being said, all the while in the bottom lane, Sneaky would take that to bot the tier 1 tower.
Not gonna okay. I saw them backing, and I was like, maybe they're not gonna fully push this. But now that they
teleports, it's a quick take. Dude, Stun Gaming doesn't. They're unaware.
I mean, I guess they're just gonna take mid tower? Question mark.
Yeah, they're going to take mid tier 1, bot tier 2 potentially as well. They give it up for the Baron, which I guess isn't the worst response ever. Take what they can, but I mean, I don't know. This early on, with how much Baron shreds resistances these days, giving it over uncontested, maybe not the best ever. Sneaky going to do their darndest to retreat. Just unable to. Pineaholic securing their 1st of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen this film before with Sneaky being pushed up like that and punished. I swear that just happened recently. And we're going to see, I think, a quicker snowball, I think, from Spaghetti Spire this time.
Yeah, 4.3k gold lead is the largest that we've had in this entire series for either team. And now objective bounties will be available for the first time in this series as well. Pretty telling about how level that first game was, but this time around Spaghetti Spire is well and truly run away with this game. Especially Frostbite, 7-0-3. Chong Solo not even going to be targeting the tower. Instead, they look to collapse onto Jace with 12 gauge. Moonshot is legendary, but Witch at Black Mass, wrong side of the wall.
Oh, wow.
Shutdown goes away of 2 Life. Chong Solo very low, not quite dead. It's a good recall of the Pepper. Sneaky going to have to flash away. Moonshot driving into the back line, but may have gone a bit too far. Shutdown by Ghoul Freak. Will pick up 1,000 gold for himself on the Ash. And it's not quite in just yet. 2 Clive pushes forward, tries to burn down Pineaholic. Not quite going to find the kill just yet. Tolt does have access to speed up their teammates with the W cast, but it's a relatively long cooldown. They're not going to give up just yet. Does look like finally it will back off and the recalls come through on the side of Spaghetti Spire, but a good fight back from Stain Gaming Eclipse to give themselves signs of life here in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a nice little bit of a shutdown, and there still is more to be gained from Moonshot.
Too
Oh, wow.
aggressive once again. Teleports straight to the top lane, but with nowhere else to go, taking down sub 50% HP, does have access to the egg form. Once that health bar does go away, if they need it, Pineaholic not hightailing it out of there, surprisingly. And so Pineaholic just going to have to be left abandoned with nothing else to do. Bit of a confusing run of play from Pineaholic those last few minutes.
Yeah, I feel like that was a little bit troll, just not... I feel like they were just a little bit too disrespectful in terms of spacing, especially with that many people across the map hovering the mid lane there. Let's see. I don't think they're going to be able to make anything else happen. Stun Gaming is in this mid lane, so it's time to kind of disperse. Sneaky still split pushing that bot dutifully.
0-4 on the Dr. Mundo, the target once again of Spaghetti Spire. Jason 12 gauge is nearby, does still have access to the maximum dosage. Will eventually cast it. I mean, eventually cast it. Finally, now with no health left. So Moonshot able to secure his 9th kill of the game.
Man.
Sneaky 0-5 on the Mundo. While Stun Gaming really can't push in that mid lane tier 2 to make it worthwhile.
I mean, definitely rough from Sneaky, and I think that delayed ult was truly, truly tragic. And let's see. With this bot being pushed in, it's going to be hard to have any agency across the map if you are Stun Gaming here. But it's not entirely lost. Hope is not lost here. That Encore has proven to be pretty strong. So I think if they can burn through the Braum shield early in these team fights, that they can find something, make something happen, especially with Sneaky here with the Warmogs, able to just kind of tank forever. We shall see.
Especially in the side lanes, if Sneaky can escape before being fully burnt down. He'll right back up now that the Warmogs is complete. Still not going to be easy to answer Moonshot wherever they go. And, you know, very close to the Infinity Edge. Well, not even very close anymore on recall, is able to complete that item. And also with the Executioner's Calling, will prevent a lot of that healing from Sneaky. A lot of the strength of the Dr. Mundo comes from, and considering how far behind he is, still going to be really difficult to answer Moonshots. And we'd assume that that's really their best bet at being able to do so. Next Drake is spawning in 23 seconds. I hope I haven't disconnected again. It's a bit hard
You're
to
all
tell.
good.
Okay, I wasn't hearing anything and I got scared.
No, yeah, I mean, we'll definitely just add a standstill here. Sneaky dutifully split pushing as a Mundo does Pineaholic disrespecting it. And, I mean, I feel like Sneaky wins those in terms of 1v1.
Yeah, but Moonshot is the one arriving around this Drake. It is Soul Point to the side of Spaghetti Spire. Sending Moonshot up to the top lane would definitely reduce the potency of Spaghetti Spire's take of Spaghetti Spire's 4v4. So instead, they want to pick up the Kimtech Soul. It's too late from Jace with 12 gauge, who's now in the middle of all of Spaghetti Spire with nowhere to go. Frostbite is the one to secure the kill.
I mean, this has definitely been a solid game from a Spaghetti Spire, not really making the same mistakes that they did earlier. Pineaholic, though, kind of the exception to that, but still, you know, living, which is most important when you are a mage here.
Ghoul Freak going to have to flash away from Moonshot's Fate Sealed. No flash on the Ashe, but importantly, it was the kill onto Jace with 12 gauge, meaning that there is no smite available for Stun Gaming, and the neutral objective takes from Spaghetti Spire are just way too quick for there to be any answer from Stun Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a pretty textbook game from a Spaghetti Spire. They won it badly. They're going to go to a map 3 here, knock on wood. No caster curse to be had here.
that's a pretty big thing to say. That being said, it's looking very likely Jace with 12 gauge cut off once again, going to flash over the wall. Won't matter. Chong Somo going to pick up his second of the game and give the side of Spaghetti Spire a little bit of a numbers advantage, or just a little bit of an injection of gold to bring completely honest. They're going to look to recall, complete a few more items, look to fully expand their lead once again once they get back onto the map.
Yeah, I mean, I know that before this map I said that I was worried about a front line from Spaghetti Spire, but they've proved me wrong with just how oppressive this Braum can be, you know, just denying so much in terms of CC and damage.
A few of those encores stopped midway through, especially around that last Dragon fight. It was lined up very nicely by Tolt, but just Braum's things really. So
yeah.
The mid lane tier 2 comes through. So continue push from Spaghetti Spire, who have a lot better wave clear as well with the Xayah. Ashe not as successful. I mean, the Acel does have a little bit for themselves, but not exactly the most potent example of it ever in that regard. Last clean shot comes in from Jace with 12 gauge, doesn't quite hit the mark. Encore finds its way onto 3, but there's just no damage to follow up. Skies Descend drops, doesn't nearly do enough damage yet on Took Life. Just a bit too far behind on the entirety of Stun Gaming in general. Jace with 12 gauge dies once again. Spaghetti Spire push in, get the mid lane inhibitor. They have a push in the bot lane as well. They'll turn their attention towards it. That being said, the pathing over to this is a little bit questionable. Jeff, of course, the arrow finds way out to Frostbite. The Feather Dance from Frostbite will have to be committed, and then the flash away. But all the while, Moonshot in the bat line gets a kill onto Tolt before snapping bat. Pineaholic does have access to the egg form. It's a really good wall separating out Tuglite. And so only Ghoul Freak and Sneaky are left to defend the base of Stun Gaming Eclipse. But it's absolutely surgical from Spaghetti Spire how they picked off these individual members. Jace with 12 gauge doing his best to interrupt TSS, but there's just nothing left in the tank for Stun Gaming. They do manage to kill Chung Solmo, but one Braum isn't all that much of a loss when the Nexus goes the way of Spaghetti Spire, who send us to a game 3.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was definitely a game that wasn't at all close like that first match. We're gonna look at the deficit here. I mean, I can't really do math, but you get the idea, guys. I mean, they were just down the entire time. I'd love to see kind of the graph in terms of gold lead, because, I mean, I feel like there was never a moment, except for, I believe, early game was when Stun Gaming had some kind of lead, maybe 2,000, but after that, it was just clinical.
And if we want to talk about gold leads, look at... I mean, we've said his name a lot so far this game, or the series even in general, but Moonshots over Sneaky. I mean, 4.2k gold individually is it's it's insurmountable, and yeah, I think the game really just spoke for itself. So
Yeah.
with that, we are going to send it to a break, but when we come back, bring to you game 3, the decisive game between Spaghetti Spire and Stun Gaming Eclipse. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a little bit. And we are back for a decisive game 3 here in the Ember Scorch League upper quarterfinals between Stun Gaming Eclipse and Spire. This time around, Stun Gaming Eclipse opting to move to the red side for the first time tonight, Lucent.
Yeah, I mean, this will definitely be a little bit change of, I guess, gameplay a little bit. I've heard, the blue side wins more, allegedly, but we've seen, them be on the same sides, but have opposite outcomes. So, nonetheless, we'll be going with a little bit change of scenery, perhaps, but we're seeing similar bans once more, the Caitlyn and the Aurelia, and probably a Jinx.
Yeah, and the Nico. Everything's still keeping up as it was. But I mean, it's one of the things with side swaps like this in Fierce is that typically you can change up your bands a little bit and try to first pick it away if it is available. And Graves is taken away by the side of Spaghetti Spire this time around. Oh gosh, what was the other band that Spaghetti Spider took away? Because it'd probably be first pick. It was trying to remember. Do we recall what the third band from Spaghetti Spire has been last two series? Either way, I'll look forward to that or try to recall. Spaghetti Spire going to opt for the Scion B1, a top laner who has been in the meta a lot for the past about year and a half, because just how tanky can get. But interesting enough, because it is Spaghetti Spire, because it is Moonshot, and how impactful Moonshot is in these games with how many kills you get. I don't know. I'm not as certain of a Scion pick specifically because it is Spaghetti Spire.
Yeah, I mean, this Scion has been banned out before by Stunned Gaming. Then again, it was like the very last ban of that draft, but nonetheless, it was banned out. So one can assume that Moonshot likes to frequent this character, Smolder being that scaling champion that I was saying from after the first match there that we should be careful of. It's going to be let through this time, and Smolder being picked as well as Gwen, kind of the tank buster. So,
yeah, Gwen, a classic counter to Scion whenever he's locked in. It's almost always the one. I mean, sometimes Rumble is the choice as well, but the ability to shed through those tanks, especially with a snip step, you land on the center of it, as well as with this season coming in with the Dusk and Dawn, it has made Gwen a lot more powerful, being able to stack up that ability much quicker with the double on-hit effects coming through. But the immediate response from Spaghetti Spire is pick up the Corki Nami. If we're talking about popularity, this one has been in the meta just about all year, listen.
yeah, for sure. And the range on a Corki is going to be a good bit of oppression for Smolder early game there. Just trying to get his stacks, stacking his bread on his lonely. It's going to be a little bit tougher because of the poke advantage that Corki has, as well as the Nami being paired. You're going to get away with a lot, but Alistar being the answer. I really like this.
Yeah, Alistar, headbutt pulverize. An all-time classic combination. Mm-hmm. One that allows you to start fights instantly, but also can be used separately to peel out a lot more, though. Admittedly, there aren't too many champions on the side of Spaghetti Spire that you'd want to be solo headbutting away, except for maybe the Scion if he gets a little bit too far in and gets a little bit too dangerous for the Smolder. But other than that, you're going to be looking at more a way to start fights more than stop them.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what these jungle picks will be. I'm not quite familiar. Isaac, if you have any ideas of what we might be seeing, let me know.
The issue is with these two teams and their junglers is that throughout this season, Spaghetti Spire and Stun Gaming Eclipse have had quite a few issues with getting Witch at Black Mass and Jace with 12 gauge to be able to show up consistently. So their revealed tramp pools that they've played so far this season is still relatively small. That being said, the Fiddlesticks will be taken away on the side of Stun Gaming Eclipse. Very much fearing that champ from Witch at Black Mass, who, if I recall correctly, Witch at Black Mass, obviously a relatively known figure in and around the Tier 3 scene, or I guess the amateur scene here in around the Emerald level. is one who fittingly plays a lot of fiddlesticks. So Stun Game Eclipse not going to want to see that in the hands of Spaghetti Spire, but they will pick up the Varus. I'm assuming going into the top lane, and then they're gwungling it.
Yeah. Definitely seeing, I believe more in the Gwyn jungle, a little bit more. Varus, a relatively good answer to Sion, unable to kite away. Syndra being the mid lane pick, pretty much a classic, and then Jax being the jungler, which will be fun to see. With the Varus top lane, it should be a relatively easy lane. But then again, Sion does have an ultimate, so if Varus wins a trade early, but is left dangerously low by that passive, Sion could just ult back and get his get back. We shall see, though.
Also, is that locked? Yeah, the timer stopped. That's a lock-in on the Ord for Stun Game Eclipse. So, Varus ADC Smolder mid? Maybe?
Yeah, I think these are interchangeable, and maybe that's on purpose because they can kind of choose where to swap things at the end before the draft. But they obviously have to lock that in when they go into the client. But for the draft itself, it's interchangeable.
I'm looking at least from what I've noted down. I mean, I haven't seen any Smolder from Pineholic, at least so far this year in the Ember Scorch League. So
okay, it's a Smolder mid. Yep.
So I have my name swapped around because my main hasn't mentally switched the teams. Yeah, Spaghetti Spire on blue side, so it's actually Took Life going to be on the Smolder mid. We get that confirmation now as we loaded onto the Rift, and other things we get confirmation of Pineholic not opting for a teleport here in Game 3.
Minions have spawned.
Yeah. A little kind of skirmish, or I mean, Alistar there taking a bit of damage. I mean, just getting punished, and that's kind of how you respond to those early engages from Alistar, which I like from this bot lane here. But I mean, let us know in the chat if you're opting for the reverse sweep or, rooting for the underdogs, because Spaghetti Spire has won a match against them before, so on textbook they should be winning this matchup here. Moonshot getting their get back there. Nice trade in the top lane.
Yeah, and all the while, wow. Toltz, again, the headbutt away on the Chong Solmo. He's got a little bit of damage down, but, I mean, level 1, frankly, Alistar hardly a champion. He's getting completely pushed out by Frostbite as a result. It's one of the big weaknesses of Alistar is that level 1, whether you decide to go for the headbutt first or the pulverize first, either way, you're basically not a champion until you hit level 2. And even then, it really takes it to level 3 before you fully actually can impact anything.
Yeah, I mean, early, they're going to be kind of bullied, but I think that once they hit the level 5, level 6 spike, I think they should win that. But, I mean, top lane here, I think that a Sion versus Ornn is a relatively even matchup. Toke Life getting some nice damage off, some good trades in the mid lane. Let's see, Pineholic opting for the Arcane Comet and not Electrocute. A nice headbutt there from Sneaky, though.
Yeah, and it's not a full-on counter pick for the Ornn into Sion matchup, but one of the things that Ornn does have with the Bellows Breath, with the Brittle's procs, is true damage. You can start to whittle away at something like Sion, given enough time, given enough procs of the Brittle. But again, it is two relatively uninteractive mid laners, top laners up there, so we won't be seeing too much from Moonshot and Sneaky this time around, which is a little bit unfortunate, I think, from the Spaghetti Spire, since a lot of their success when they do find it does come through Moonshot. I mean, we have covered it before, but
yeah,
I mean, I guess I've seen Scions take over games in the past, and maybe I'm just unfamiliar with Moonshot Scion game, which, to be fair, I am a bit unfamiliar with, so I might eat my words after I'm done with this, but I don't know. I was looking for something perhaps a little bit more spicy for one of the premier top laners in Ember Scorch League.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Scion has so much agency to split push and just split push and split push and not really get as punished for it. And even if they are, it doesn't really matter because it is Scion. I think that offers a lot of value in terms of the map plays that we see from Spaghetti Spire. They really like to have some kind of cheese abilities that give them more agency to play a little more aggressively across the map here. Some nice bits of damage from Moonshot.
Yeah, opting for an early Cole headbutt. Pulverize finds way onto Chunks. So no Ghoul Freak though. Really low on mana early on with the Varus. We'll put you behind a bit. And speaking of going behind, Frostbite so far really succeeding, getting himself a bit of a gold lead here in the CS department early on. And speaking of the top lane as well, we've talked about Moonshot maybe not being as on an exciting pick, but also doing a decent job himself, starting to slowly accrue a lead for Spaghetti Spire.
Yeah, I mean, this is just classic kind of farming phase. Nothing too spicy happening, but I'm excited to see this Gwyn jungle put in some work as we kind of leave that early phase. And I mean, Sneaky has level 6 first here from enduring that lane a little bit longer. Across the board in terms of leveling, Chongsomo a little bit behind, but nonetheless, it might not matter, but it could also define the way some of these early fights go.
Well, Drake is started up by the side. Before we get to that, Forge God is called by Sneaky. Ornn comes through. Moonshots, presses W, really doesn't care. But Drake was started up by Jace with 12 gauge. Moonshot's gone low, but a few tower shots drop down. First blood goes the way of Moonshots. With the assistance of the tower, really good use of the unstoppable onslaughts to keep Sneaky in tower range to get the first kill of the game.
Yeah, definitely some impressive work from Moonshot there. Some big brain plays, really understanding your champion, which at Black Mass kind of in a sticky situation, gonna get kind of autoed down, but
as well.
Out of position, but not going to be punished. Oh, I'm going to eat my words there. A lot of damage there. Moonshot opted to stay longer, so maybe they can get their get back here. Sneaky trying to chase them down, but it's going to be a thumbs up as I think Moonshot's out of this one.
Yeah, does not have flash. Did have to use that to escape. Headbutt Pulverize drops onto Chongsomo. Wolfreak's piercing arrow takes him even lower. Chongsomo Ignite drop down onto the Nami. One more, but it ticks down. Yeah, I don't think that'd be enough. No. Barely. Just short. Not quite getting the kill on Chongsomo, who will eventually recall, but this leaves Frostbite without a support. Relatively low on health. Will be in a troubled spot now. Flash forward headbutt, Pulverize drops. Spare, you're immediately followed up, but 2 shower shots go onto Ghoul Freak. 3 ramped up shots go onto both Tolt and Ghoul Freak. But all the while, Drake taken by the side of Spaghetti Spire. So a lot committed to try to find a few kills from a stun gaming. Spaghetti Spire, though, once again, picking up the first Drake of the game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot invested there. Chongsomo still doesn't have that ultimatum on the board. Tolt taking a little bit of damage, but can this be a solo bolo for the supports? Nah, no way.
Tolt's level 6 anyway. If it truly got that bad, he'd just press R heal. And then just, I mean, I wouldn't say not care is a bit too extreme because then you would be without a heal and without unbreakable will, but not Chongsomo. Tolt was never going to die there, barring some absolutely egregious gameplay never seen before. Instead, Sneaky will call the Forge God, not before Moonshot gets out of tower range, gets a lot of damage, going out to flash from the decimating smash. Not quite going to find the kill on Sneaky, but Jace with 12 gauge has a ride, so has Tolt. Moonshot going to dodge the first ult. Second cast of it won't matter. Shutdown goes the way of Jace with 12 gauge. That's a shutdown strictly. I'm not quite sure where that came from. The grubs go the way of Spaghetti Spire, which at Black Mass, the target of Tolt. The headbutt eventually going to be used to extend the CC change with a Black Mass going to have to flash over the wall, but all the while in the bot lane, Ghoul Freak getting killed. Stun drop, the counter strike from which at Black Mass gets the kill onto Sneaky. Kills all over the map, but really well done by Witch at Black Mass to stay alive and turn the low health bar around onto Sneaky to pick up a kill for himself.
Yeah, I mean, the livability of Witch at Black Mass needs to be studied in a lab for sure. Some beautiful work and going back in for more. Something terrifying, but yet just doable for the players of Spaghetti Spire. I mean, they're doing some crazy things across the map here. And I mean, Stun Gaming trying to match it, but I don't think they quite have the swagger. Pinaholic low on mana here. Hope Life can get a little bit of damage off, but you can just walk back to tower, so not going to be able to do anything. I mean, in terms of gold, a 1k lead for Moonshot. It's just it's the same story. Every match, it seems. A lot of damage there. Sneaky just not be able to answer, and I don't think Sneaky can really fight this until he gets that first item.
Yeah, and I mean, especially now with Moonshot. I mean, it's a fully charged decimating smash, though. Not going to you shouldn't be able to get too many of those. Health bar of Sneaky is still relatively large, so it's far from noon for them. I mean, Moonshot, he might drop a few more of those, but even then, Sneaky's just recalls, could teleport back in if necessary. Obviously, not the most ideal scenario to be in 20 CS down, but I mean, it's hardly the end of the world, especially when you have Ornn. I mean, one good call to Forge God and everything going right in the end. And speaking of, Ornn will be sounded. Unstoppable Onslaught will be used to buffer the second cast of it. So no ult available for either top laner for the foreseeable future.
No, yeah, I mean, definitely great protocol. Moonshot just seems to know how exactly to pilot these characters, which I find pretty impressive. Chungsomo getting some nice poke off, but Jace with 12 gauge hovering this tower dive, it could get dangerous.
And Frostbite will know they're there. It's a good awkward prison right its way onto Tolt. The wave is already very thin, but all the while in the top lane, Moonshot picks up his second kill of the game, extending his gold lead over Sneaky. Tolt goes in, headbutt, Pulverive is low, immediately pops the Unbreakable Will, but dies immediately. Jace with 12 gauge, missing these ults as well. Needlework going wide, goes Ghoul Freak, getting dangerously low, double kill for the Corky, who then immediately drops the barrier. One more auto attack is all Jace with 12 gauge needs again. Snips down, double kill with Jace with 12 gauge, but he immediately gets traded back with the help of the tower for Chongsolmo. In a 3v2 in the gank, everybody dies, and the extra kill goes the way of Spaghetti Spire.
No, yeah, I mean, Spaghetti Spire there coming out on top. Kind of an unfortunate thing, but I mean, I like the commit from Jace with 12 gauge nonetheless onto Chungsomo. Just kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's there with that tower dive. Tolt here, gonna be seen with this hover, so I mean,
yeah, and can't help but think though, with that previous fight that Jace with 12 gauge was in, even though it didn't necessarily matter much the first time around, perhaps things could have potentially gone a little bit better if some of those casts of the Needlework did end up hitting their targets. Speaking of the Gwen and Jace with 12 gauge, Drake is started up to try to prevent the dragon stacking of Spaghetti Spire. A lot will be committed though from the side of Stun Gaming. Chongsolmo, the target, going to be hit by the Chains of Corruption. Chunked down by an empowered piercing arrow. Ghoul Freak going to get the kill into Chong Soma, and they'll look for more on the tower dive to Frostbite, which gives a double kill over to Ghoul Freak. Tolt, though, very low Witch at Black Mass, trying to find a counter gank. Just a little bit too late to be able to leap strike in onto Tolt.
Yeah, I mean, the livability of Alistar is super irritating for sure, but an impressive another tower dive from Stun Gaming coming out better than the last. So maybe we're adjusting and learning. They don't opt to greed for the tower plate there, which I mean, I would have gone for it. But nonetheless, a good play. Top lane, in terms of towers, we have no towers. Stun Gaming.
Yeah, Moonshot, despite being on the Scion, a very different champion than what we're used to seeing him on, still popping off over almost 3k gold up over Sneaky. As you mentioned, taking that top lane tier 1 can do a sneaky amount of damage, or, well, maybe a...
Huh. Say that again.
Never mind. Either way, speaking of Moonshot and Sneaky, we'll use the Unstoppable Onslaught to collapse onto the Orin once again. Moonshot picks up his 3rd kill of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bloodbath in the top lane. If you don't want to dip your toe in, don't go top, I guess.
I said Ghoul Freak left a little bit alone in the spawn lane. Won't use the piercing arrow to clear the way. Before we get back to that, Witch at Black Mass tries to go on to Jace with 12 gauge. Not going to push their luck any further. They've got Tolt and Took Life nearby to collapse on. That would be fighting at a numbers disadvantage. They'll just back away and allow the bot lane of Spaghetti Spire to pick up the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, I mean, Stunned Gaming is kind of on the back foot here, but I mean, it's anyone's game still in terms of objectives. But as I say that, Spaghetti Spire is looking to pick up this Rift Herald and probably decimate this mid tower as well, giving them a very strong pressure across the map.
Not only that, it's going to help them expand their gold lead even further. Now up 4k on the side of Spaghetti Spire. Is one that's not the ideal situation to be in. At the very least, most of it is on Moonshot on the Scion, which, while definitely difficult to deal with, not exactly the most ideal champion you want the 3k gold lead to be on. So at least they have that going for them, but already look at the stacks on the Scion. 732 bonus health for Moonshot, just 16 minutes in. Is yeah, oh no, it's certainly, that is an apt reaction. Being said, they were talking about an apt reaction. Moonshot, the target of the 3 members of Stun Gaming. Jace with 12 gauge going to be snipping his way down with the needlework combined. Gives the shutdown over to Took Life as well. A little bit of a teleport in from Tolt with the unsealed spellbook just for the bonus effect. Does open up the mid lane a little bit. Mid tier 2 picked up by Spaghetti Spire. Will get a second charge down before Tolt or any of the other members of Stun Gaming can arrive. Instead, Witch at Black Mask going to have to leap strike away. It's a really good tidal wave from Chung Solmo to get Witch at Black Mask out. Chung Solmo, though, now in trouble. The pillar comes up, doesn't quite knock Chung Solmo back, but we'll have to flash away. Counter strike finds the stun onto 2, but luckily it is Sneaky who was the target of the tower. Is very tanky. Teleport now dropping back down from Moonshot to try to turn this fight around, get a few kills over to Spaghetti Spire, but Stun Gaming's out of there.
Yeah, and I mean, even though this looks like a rough game for Stun Gaming, it's important to notate that they do have a Smolder. And I mean, even no matter how beefy the Scion gets, it can be chopped away by this Smolder once he gets his stacks up.
Yeah, but 146 minutes at that being said, oh, it's a good scatter of the week, finding its way onto Ghoul Freak, decimating smash. As hits the target of the Varus, won't quite find the kill, but they will have to escape. Jace with 12 gauge on the flank, trying to find a bit more to turn this around, but the health bars are too low for the rest of his team. Will you have to use the Hollow Mist to escape? Needlework drops Pino. All look a little bit too far forward. is taking down sub 50% HP, but Jace with 12 gauge and Sneaky alone aren't enough to secure the kill onto the Syndra.
Yeah, I mean, we have the split push of Doom coming out from Toke Life as well. Gonna try and secure that, but as I say that, across the map, the Drake is gonna be taken. And it's the second one on the board. Not too scary yet, but I mean, every team fight could be the last for Stun Gaming.
I think it might be a little bit early to like call that last team fights just yet. Or not even at the 20-minute mark, and the game isn't that dire just yet from Stun Gaming. At this point in time, it is not great, admittedly. To be fair, given time for Toke Life up the top lane, gives him a few solo plates, gives him some solo XP, gets him some extra stacks. Did actually manage to claw back the gold deficit by about 1k. Then if they do give over a second Drake to Spaghetti Spire, the second Drake alone, especially one that they really couldn't contest without, inting. Not exactly the worst outcome for Stun Gaming, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they have this scaling ability here, but I think Moonshot is aware of that. A good getaway card from Toke Life there. It's just very scary, and I mean, if Spaghetti Spire plays this correctly, they're going to prevent this scaling and continue to snowball. If they play their cards right, they're just going to focus, the squishy people in the Comp-Virus and Spell. They're kind of the main damage dealers, I feel like, although Jace with a 12 gauge also being a really mighty force in terms of a tank buster to kind of answer Moonshot, but I don't know if it's enough.
Toke Life could be in trouble. Will flap over the wall to get away from Moonshot. Will have to flash away from Witch at Black Mass, but cannot extend the range out of the counter strike layered by the Unstoppable Onslaught. Was indeed given nowhere to go for the mid laner of Stun Gaming. I'm gonna slow down his stacking a little bit, but I feel like that's the least of the concerns of Stun Gaming at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an unfortunate pick there. Jace trying to fight back.
Gauge. Really good use of the Hollowed Mist to prevent some of the damage down. Witch Black Mass is very slow. Does land all of the needed work this time around. Ghoul Freak. And the Chains of Corruption onto Chunk Solmo, who is targeted by the tower. So Ghoul Freak picks up a kill for themselves. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Witch at Black Mask is shut down by Jace with 12 gauge. And so a nice injection of gold goes the way of the Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, Ghoul Freak picking up a kill as well as Jace with 12 gauge is going to give him a nice little padding here. I don't know. It's so hard to tell here how things will be going. I think it's going to be all about this positioning for these next objectives and not getting caught out like Toke Life did kind of earlier.
4k gold lead for Spaghetti Spire. Still will extend that a bit more with the top lane tier 2 getting claimed by Pineaholic. Is still one that is difficult to overcome for Stun Gaming. However, Spaghetti Spire definitely not as clean as they were in game 2 with how they've managed to hold on to this gold lead. Still maintaining it for now, but it's definitely a bit rough around the edges. Baron now on the map, having passed the 20-minute mark. We're waiting on the next Drake spawning to usually see a really big game opener with 1 minute to go. That would potentially put Spaghetti Spire on soul points if they can take it.
For sure. I mean, it's also important to know a 0-0-0 scoreline for Pineaholic here. I mean, very interesting. 0 KP, 0 deaths. I mean, I can't hate when, you're surviving as well, but kind of a funny scoreline to see at 22 minutes.
Baron started up? I mean, Witch at Black Mass certainly takes it relatively quickly on his own. We'll have the support of Chong Solmo to heal him up to ensure he won't go down. We get a health bar check on the Baron. They're committing a lot to it. Stun Gaming Esports realized now that it's getting taken away, but there's nothing they can do to respond. It's already gone.
That is
Spaghetti
crazy.
Spire pull off a heist right under the noses of Spaghetti Spire. Of Stun Gaming, excuse me. Instead, Noodlework is dropped by Jace with 12 gauge. Not quite going to hit anybody. But he can't quite have the same reaction as there was in game 2 with the Sneak Baron. Won't even get the mid lane tier 1 tower for their troubles. And so Spaghetti Spire come off with a massive win for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, just an insane sneak in there. Opting to also take this drag as well. It's probably going to be impossible to contest here. We've got some nice lanes pushed out, but again, they can just start it and shred it away here. Quirky damage online with Triforce. I mean, it is looking like a snowball situation here.
Yeah, especially picking up that Baron. It was stalled out for quite a while for Spaghetti Spire. But picking up that Baron definitely makes things a lot easier for TSS to start to run away with this game. I mean, in the last few minutes alone, have extended their gold lead by nearly 1K. Being said, they're now at the bot lane tier 2. Can't quite let the auto attack to get a few extra plates down, but the amount of minions here, the clear of this all that much more. Called Forge God comes through, finds way onto Pinaholic, but a really good scatter of the week stops the advance of Stun Gaming. Jace with 12 gauge, going to try to hightail out of there. Frostbite picks up the kill in response, and Moonshot separates out Tolt with nowhere to go. Mom is called, gets a lot of damage onto Wish at Black Mass, which is followed up by Ghoul Freak to be able to trade a kill back to the side of Stun Gaming. But those were just so low. Moonshot going to drop down the Q there, and Pinaholic going to pick up his first few kill involvements of the game. First kill that went the way onto Took Life. And so Spaghetti Spire extend their gold lead by yet another 1.5K gold. They take the bot lane tier 2. They push forward even more, and this Baron power play for them has blown the doors wide open on this game that were already slightly ajar.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're seeing the Syndra scaling as well as, I mean, Moonshot with just stacks upon stacks here. Just a formidable opponent Moonshot has become, and it's just, it's a hard watch for sure if you are a Stunned Gaming fan here. Going into this, I wasn't quite sure here. We have Gwen, and I feel like if Gwen was at the top lane, I feel like it maybe would have been a different story. But then again, Moonshot seems to know his champions pretty well, so probably would have been able to handle that matchup. Nonetheless, we're going to see Chungsomo kind of disrespecting this space here in the jungle here, but it's not going to be answered. I really don't know. I mean, Toke Life here, almost at 250 stacks. Is going to be able to scale soon, but I don't know if it'll be enough. Sneaky here being caught out once more.
Will dodge out the counter strike. Stun Tolt is here to help. Will drop the heal immediately. Ult from Ghoul Freak wouldn't dissuade any advance in the top lane. All while Took Life admittedly does a decent amount of damage onto Pinaholic. Like said, Jace 12 gauge, hopping over the wall, trying to find a way onto Witch at Black Mass, but Moonshot in the middle of 3 is so tanky, but is he tanky enough? The snip down in the sweet spot with the final dash forward and auto attack. Secures a shutdown onto Jace with 12 gauge, so some gold goes back the way of Stun Gaming. They'll need a lot more plays like that to really be back in this one.
Yeah, for sure, and I mean, you will see it's almost time for the Smolder scale to be online there, 248 stacks. I feel like they can get back in this if they play their cards right here. Gwen there, you saw, was able to deal with the Scion pretty well, but the CC chain from the Nami, from Pinaholic, from Moonshot, and the Counter-Strike from Witch of Black Mass also proving to be a formidable counter to the amount of damage output you can see from the Varus and Smolder.
That being said, Spaghetti Spire are on Soul Point. That being said,
wow.
it's a really good pick onto Pineaholic, who is just caught unaware of the hiding members of Stun Gaming. Chung Somo, the target of the Needlework, securing the kill for Jace with 12 gauge, which at Black Mass does turn a kill back around immediately. Frostbite slow, but out of range of any of the damage dealers of Stun Gaming, which at Black Mass finds his way onto Ghoul Freak. Can't quite get the kill before Took Life secures the execute onto the Jax. And now Moonshot will do his best to try to escape with how tanky he is. Headbutt Pulverize comes through. Frostbite's way too low to help out this side. Another nice knock up from Sneaky ensures Ghoul Freak is dominating 7-2 and 4 on the Varus now. And so, what was looking like a surefire Spaghetti Spire victory suddenly looks to be a lot more untenable now. Took Life has reached his execution marks. Few kills go back the other way. Gwyn that over 3 items. They find a team fight. Luckily, the Drake is spawning. It might be a small. There's not a small window because Witch at Black Mass is dead. They don't have Smite. So now with Drake up, Spaghetti Spire, they can definitely afford to concede a few of these Drakes, but they'll eventually have to try to win a fight after what might. The game,
for sure.
I don't think it's quite slipped away from them just yet. They've got a 4K gold lead. I don't know though.
I mean, at some point you have to stem the bleeding, and they're probably gonna do this by again forcing these Barons sneakily, but not sneaky. Sneaky's not here.
Jace with 12 gauge going to do his best to try to find a way in onto the Baron. They will pull off that trade. Both those objectives were spawning at the same exact time. Stun Gaming committed a lot to prevent the Chemtech Soul going the way of Spaghetti Spire. So really good tempo play from Spaghetti Spire to recognize that they didn't want to contest it anyway. Going to pick up a Baron for themselves and can even try to push into the mid lane a little bit more. Like I said, it's only the open inhibitor that is available for Spaghetti Spire to be able to claim here in the mid lanes. Scatter the Weak finds way onto 2. Live, Call the Forge God gets way onto 2. Frostbite down to half HP, so is Witch at Black Mass. No Horn available and no Needlework now available for Stun Gaming. Jace with 12 gauge. Admittedly, some of these Needlework so far in this game not quite hit their mark. It's not been completely terrible. He's definitely hit it's like a 50-50 rate. Ooh, Chains of Corruption not quite going to hit the mark from Ghoul Freak, but does have access to the Edge of Night, so will not be stopped by the Scattered Weak, and Pineaholic has to flash away.
I mean, that's kind of been the name of the game from Pineaholic, just permanently kind of being caught out of a position or just generally being able to be punished for a little bit of an aggressive play. I feel like that's just been a norm, but at the same time, Chains of Corruption has been yet to be hit. Look at that ult to the mid lane here. Moonshot ready and bloodthirsty, it seems like.
Yeah, they do recognize that Stun Gaming are a bit too far away from their own base, trying to find a flank, and so Spaghetti Spire immediately try to move into the mid lane to do their best to take this mid lane inhibitor. With Call of Forge God coming through, has arrived with the rest of the team. It finds its way to Chong Somo, who's way too far forward. Jace with 12 gauge gets that first kill, goes golden, buys time for himself, and it's a great knockup from Sneaky onto 2. Ghoul Freak is godlike, killing Pineaholic and Witch at Black Mass. Moonshot's way too far forward, and Stun Gaming Eclipse find yet another fight. 4 kills unanswered this time around, and the Spaghetti Spire, it was looking like a surefire victory for them just 6 or 7 minutes ago, but now with how long the kill timers are, I don't think they will be able to end. There's too many towers for Spaghetti Spire left to fully end the game now. But I mean, they were up 7k gold not too long ago, but we're back level basically.
Yeah, just an insane comeback, but not unheard of. I mean, it is just Spolder. And I mean, with Gwyn on the board, tanks, as tanky as they are, can be answered for sure. Beautiful work there, focusing Chung Somo, who has been having some really great tidal waves in these games. So I don't hate focusing the support there. That CC has proven to be kind of a knife in the side of Stun Gaming.
And just generally, when you find such a squishy target pushed way too far up, you can find an early kill like that. You always got to take that opportunity. Ghoul Freak will find, I mean, yeah, Chung Solmo not respecting the lack of vision. Ghoul Freak is legendary, 9-2 and 7 on the Varus. Chung Solmo goes down once again. Luckily, there's still over a minute until the next objective spawns. And it is the Kimtech Drake, so Spaghetti Spire technically really can afford to give that over. And, you know, it would put Stun Gaming on soul points. So it's not the end of the world, not the worst death ever, but not one that you like to see.
Yeah, I mean, also some really great pushes here from Stun Gaming. Sneaky here. Really pushed up in the bot lane, but I mean, that tower is looking juicy. And Moonshot's here to answer.
And Pinaholic is as well. It's a good start of the week. Trying to sway onto Ghoul Freak, gets him low. Decimating Smash drops down. Pinaholic secures the kill in the 4v2. And so now the response from Spaghetti Spire to stem the bleeding finds way down onto Sneaky Jace with 12 gauge, the target of Moonshot. Can't quite find any kills just yet. Witch at Black Mask gets quite low. Jace at 12 gauge doing quite a bit of damage, but it's a really good stun onto multiple members. They'll follow up the tidal wave over the top ensures that Stun Gaming can't do anything as they get torn down by Spaghetti Spire, who stem the bleeding. They cauterize their wounds. They push back, and with the Kimtech Soul spawning in 3 seconds, they will finally be able to pick that up for themselves. They might even look for a bit more. These these respawn timers are really long. Ghoul Freak is back up in 10 seconds. I'm not sure if they'll be able to end, but there's a teleport coming up to the top lane. They might just look to try to find an end. Moonshot with that teleport up top won't be answered now. Ghoul Freak finally back available on the map, but there's another 22 seconds before Jace with 12 gauge comes back alive to be able to fully stop Chung Solmo, taken really low by that piercing arrow. Bot lane inhibitor taking Witch at Black Mass a bit too far isolated. Will pop the counter strike to survive. Second cast of the Ornhorn not quite finding the mark. But Spaghetti Spire, although they can't quite end the game, they fully opened the base of Stun Gaming Eclipse, which is absolutely massive to have the double super minions in every single lane. A teleport from Toltz it's all right. They won't burst them down.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that I liked that TP, but maybe not from the support there being all alone. But keep in mind, the tidal wave will not be online for this play. I like this a lot. Black Mass is very low. He has to recall. No smite available for Spaghetti Spire. Really good awareness from Stun Gaming Eclipse, recognizing that Witch at Black Mass can't contest, that Spaghetti Spire can't do anything about, and that would be the best window they have to prevent the soul going the way of Spaghetti Spire. But now, talking about tempo play, Spaghetti Spire equally recognize that some of these health bars of Stun Gaming Eclipse were really low. They do recognize they have the super minions in every single wave that they have to be responded to. So the third Baron of the game goes away. Yeah, it's the
Spire.
third.
Yeah, it's the third. Okay, all right.
And I mean, with all this pressure all across the map, this might be GG, especially with the super minions Baron push here. It's going to be hard to respond by clearing these waves as well as, you know, try and position for these team fights. It's going to be hard. I mean, Moonshot just not taking hardly any damage. It's so hard.
Immediately casting the Chains of Corruption onto Moonshot, doing basically no damage. Scattered Leak not quite going to find any of the members of Stun Gaming. The goal is converted there. Jace at 12 gauge will be hit by the decimating smash, knocked up a bit, taking down to half HP, and actually Jace with 12 gauge in trouble. There's not a lot of follow-up onto this Squin, so now Moonshot taken low, but healed back up so quickly, has so much health, and the tidal wave drops over the top. Frostbite picks up the first kill of the final fight. Sneaky will do their best to try to escape, but won't be able to. Spaghetti Spire, they looked a bit questionable in a few of these last few fights. It looked like a second that maybe Spaghetti Spire were going to give up their lead that they had at 7K, but a few really good tempo plays and that one team fight that they found in the bot lane is enough to put them over the edge and through to the upper semifinals of the Ember Scorch League.
Yeah, I mean, definitely really great plays there. The scaling hit, and I think they maybe weren't ready for the scaling to kind of, I mean, what is the word?
To hit them. They weren't ready. They weren't quite.
Yeah, they weren't expecting
prepared.
the damage output from Tokelife and Jace with 12 gauge quite yet. They had, tested the waters before and been able to win those matchups, so they weren't ready for it. But once they kind of understood the output and the scaling from the team, they were able to respond with it. And I think Chung Somo kind of just perma healing also, put up a good bit of sustain for Jax and Sion. Looking at the gold lead here, I mean, the stats really will not do this game justice.
I think what would be the gold graph when we eventually get to that damage graphs. I mean, we saw the Varus start to go off at the end, as well as the Smolder. Both Pineaholic and Tooklife and Ghoul Freak are starting to get a little bit dangerous there. Same as Jace with 12 gauge. I mean, look at the total amount of damage is actually higher than the combined damage of Spaghetti Spire, but I suppose you could say that is to be expected when the game goes on as long as it is, and there's just generally more health to do damage onto of Stun Gaming Eclipse. But I mean, the gold graph is what I was most interested in, and
it was just like
that's a fun roller coaster right there. I would want to ride that. I'd want to ride that personally. Or actually, maybe not these days. I get a bit motion sick. But,
I mean, they were snowballing and snowballing and snowballing there, and it looked very dire. And then very strong dip down below of, that's when the Smolder power spike happened. And then, they were able to find the response to that. But it's just, looking at the damage graphs, I mean, it looks like they did a lot of damage on the side of Stun Gaming, but you have to keep in mind that you have to be doing a lot of damage when your opponent is Sion. So I wouldn't care about the stats as much as I would, in terms of the macro plays that were happening. They got 3 Barons. Like they snuck 2 of them. I mean, insane
definitely
plays.
The sneaks, yeah. The first one especially was
that was insane.
It was audacious and it worked out in the end and definitely helped push Spaghetti Spire over the line. And so once again, congratulations to Spaghetti Spire for advancing to the upper semifinals. But it's not completely over for Stun Gaming Eclipse. They will get a bye next week due to just the mathematics of how the bracket works out. They will be automatically through to the lower semifinals, so they will have an extra week to iron out a few of issues they ran into, and they will still be given a second shot at it. And it's one of the bonuses of the Ember leagues in general is that we run double